to deal with a lot of failure. You have to be capable of dealing with a lot of failure and disappointment if you're going to be a therapist. Is that true?
What do you mean about yourself? I think you do about yourself quite often.
Are you talking about me personally?
No, me. I'm
You.
talking about me.
No, I'm talking about me.
No, it's not all about me.
You mean you have to talk about your own weaknesses and problems?
No, I mean, I think you have to be conscious of when you've got things wrong. I think that's...
Well, you have to be resilient.
Yeah.
You have to not take things personally.
No, yeah.
You have to be problem. It sounds like a therapy program. You have to be goal-oriented and strengths-oriented. You have to think, I don't know that anybody could do any better with this person than I'm doing. You know what I mean? I feel I'm doing sensible things. I feel I'm making the right moves. I'm giving them free choice. Those are principles. You have to have principles of practice, and then you have to abide by them and feel that, you're okay. And sometimes the outcomes will come out where they may. Oh, and the other thing,
The problem is, Stanton, that some people believe that, but they have really shit skills that they actually can't practice very well with people. They actually do believe, I'm doing okay, no one could do any better than people, how I do things is pretty good, and they actually treat people pretty badly.
Well, what can I tell you? It's called having a job, and I personally have never had a job. So, it's a choice you have to make if you're really willing and capable of going out there on your own and just saying, well, I'll take the responsibility for practicing my own values. But on the other hand, I admire a man like Liam who has certain values and he's plugged them into an organization. And the organization to some extent expresses them, and they like the work he does, and then he brings in other people to try and expand the horizon of their ideas a little bit more. Is that fair statement? You want to
I think so.
stretch the boundaries?
Yeah.
That's, and then he's got a job and a life.
But I think for me, Brendan, just on that, I think you're right. And one of the things in attending the updating my MI skills this year, one of the big take-home messages for me was, gone is that theory about rolling with resistance, which implies that it's the person on that side of the desk that's actually being resistant, and they've replaced it with this idea of discord. And it's like, no, hang on a second, is it that person being resistant, or is it something that I'm doing or not doing that's basically causing
And are
this?
you talking about yourself as an employee in that situation, or?
Oh, I think so, yeah. I mean, look, I think you're on a slippery slope if you think that, I'm doing perfectly here, that I am able to master all of this with everybody. And I think, it's back to that kind of thing that you're never going to be able to get on with everybody. We've all had that experience when you walk into a room, the person hasn't even opened their mouth and you go, oh jeez, I really don't like this person.
Yeah.
And if that's happening in a therapeutic or a helping setting, then to be honest, I think you're limited in kind of any kind of effectiveness that you're going to have if you don't have that kind of, I think they call it therapeutic alliance, but just that fit between two people, regardless of what model you use.
And you're talking about a client to therapist?
Yeah. Or I think even with colleagues, there's some colleagues that you
Well,
just
I think
don't
there's
get on
two
with.
different, as a therapist, I don't think you're allowed to say, I don't like this person. If you're a professional and somebody's paying you money,
Flip it on its head though, the person comes in to see you.
well, then
and
they
you
can
hear
go
this-
away.
Oh, absolutely.
Then they can say, screw this guy, I hate him.
Yeah.
There's a free choice. And then when you're in an employee situation, it's good to reflect, well, maybe I'm pissing this person off, but I need this job. You're not, but as a therapist, you're obligated not to reject people, I think. So, that's just the way the life goes. You've taken on that job, and, you can't say, well, you got to be religious, or you can't be religious. So, what did you hope to gain from my coming to Galway?
All I was really keen to do was, in a way, to kind of figure out, just get even a head count of we filled the room successfully here today.
Well done.
There's 180 people thereabouts, right? And I didn't know, honestly, because it's all he came, he filled the room, right? But for me, it was to try and even just have a snapshot of kind of who's in the room, what is our stance on this whole like addiction area? You know, like I take great comfort in listening to Shane Butler take it apart as well. You know, this idea that it's a social construct. It's this set of human behaviours that for some people become destructive. It's a relatively new phenomenon. They had to call it something, so they called it addiction, right?
But that's a little academic, and it's hard, don't you find that's hard for people to translate into?
I'm not sure. I give people enough credit to be able to get their heads around that, actually. And you know, and again, it was the main, the fun. If we were to boil it all down, I wanted to put this on was to kind of showcase that. Look, there is no concrete one way to view addiction, really. That there's a set of things that you could look to do to maximise potential for positive outcomes. But at the bottom line is, if we're not trying the stuff that research shows is evidence-based, then really we're pissing into
Well,
the
the thing that I say is, if the numbers are going in the bad direction, then we must have to rethink what we're doing. I like to plug into the actual death rates. That's a nice hard number where you can throw a graph.
But I do wonder if that isn't talking about two separate subjects there, though. Whether that's kind of mixing up the public health.
Well, at a minimum, what we're doing is not helping. You might say, well, we're not the reason for it. Somebody could say society's really going wrong. Now, you notice one thing. Remember that guy, Brian Leaf, his name was, back at the football player. And I always try to interact in the here and now with people. You must like that, don't you? Even though I
sure.
the object of my
Except
discussion.
that it turns around to bite me in the arse in the middle of 180 people.
I say good things about it. My wife is okay. I like to
okay,
share.
Stanton.
What's that?
She's more than okay.
I asked her. Exactly well put. But she was happy. She wasn't depressed. She was happy. But I like the difference between me and Brian Leaf is if I go someplace, I want to prove that I've been there. If I believe a certain set of things are true, I believe they're going to be demonstrated right in my life as I live it. And so I'd like to draw it in to the actual conversation. When we talk about mindfulness, we talk about being in the here and now. Brian Lee that's a signal he gives everywhere, and they give him 7,000. He's a big football star. That's nothing. To actually be someplace and to look at the people and talk to them and ask them questions and fit that into how you're feeding back to the group, that's my goal. And that's why I am the only lecturer who gets up there and starts asking the audience questions. Don't you notice that, I guess? Because I do that. Why do you think I do that? What's that?
To make people uncomfortable.
He's good at that, all right.
Try and challenge them, so it's
And
provoking.
what do you think I do it for?
To get people interactive.
That's a little better slant.
It's provoking us.
Well, but in a way it's true.
Questions.
It's true. You're not changing people's thinking. To change people's thinking, they have to be a little uncomfortable. If they like it too much, then they're thinking, well, hunky-dory, we're good. Her opiates are addictive, what's the problem? So I don't mind dwelling on an uncomfortable topic and throwing it out there and let everybody be uncomfortable. Maybe I lack a brain chip, you know. A lot of people think, oh, Jesus, I don't want to have people be uncomfortable out there. But the second reason I do it is, well, you know, keep people awake. This guy might actually call on me, and what the hell is he actually saying? And then the third people, I want people to engage. You know, if they're not thinking, well, is he right, is he wrong? Then they don't care. They have they didn't pay any money. So you say, well, what do they care? They'll sit here, if the guy's entertaining, that's good enough. I want people to put their money on the table. And then the other thing is you were saying, well, I don't exactly know what people in the audience think. Who knows what everybody's thinking? I always, you're not going to find out very much. In a workshop, if I had a whole day, if you call in 20 or 30 people, you're going to kind of get a pretty good idea of where you're going. I didn't have that kind of time. But I am trying to figure out, well, what are people thinking about all this? What are their actual attitudes? And if you just get up there and talk, you'll never know. So I have values in a presentation, to be in the here and now, to let people participate, to demand that they participate. And it's a little, people can be uncomfortable, and, sometimes I'll say, I almost said at the beginning of this, I say, I'm going to be challenging your ideas. Anybody, you can leave now, you know what I mean? If you don't want that to happen, I'm not going to do, but if you're here, that's the agreement you're signing on for that.
So
So
what would you
those
say
are my
the
principles.
values of the life process
Of what?
program are then? Of LPP, what are the values of LPP that you hold for when people either become a coach, one, and then become a client, the other? Are the values the same, or are they?
Well, no, your job when you're in an educational position, well, we had a deal. He wants me to challenge people and make them think new things. Your job in LPP is to help people. Challenging people you're only challenging people up to the point where you're saying, didn't you tell me that you want to stay married, but that your wife is very uncomfortable with your drinking? Just work that out for me. That's discomfort that's therapeutic. And the goal is, well, you're going to have to work that out one way or the other. You're going to have to drink less or get divorced. That's where it's going. But my goal in making a presentation is, it's okay for me to make them uncomfortable, to move them off center, and to make them go home and say, what do I really believe? It's a different job.
But I think, if I'm correct, the question you were asking is about more specifically what are the values built into the life process program, both from a coach's point of view and also from somebody who might sign up for the life process program.
Where'd Daihi go? Did he? Oh,
There.
you want to handle this one, Daihi?
No, if you're doing a good job, I'll let you roll.
Our value is we train coaches to be accepting. It's non-judgmental. You have to be able to let people tell you bad things. You can't determine their goals for them. So we're non-judgmental. We're efficacy encouraging. They have to end up thinking, your job isn't to be a good therapist. Your job of being a good therapist means that the person is better equipped going forward to deal with their lives.